Yeah, so the Digimon Story game we've been waiting 7+ years for comes out this year. That's the video. No, but actually, there is so much to talk about because finally, after so much waiting, Digimon Story Time Stranger releases this year. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. If you tuned into the live stream on Wednesday, thank you so much. That was an incredible stream. Bandai Namco Entertainment US was in the chat for that stream. We really made it. I guess Bandai is watching. Apologies for the slightly ropey setup. I forgot the cable I needed for my DSLR, so that is arriving. The next video that I film from here in America will be on my normal camera, but for now we're using my webcam. It's like a 2020 Karn EX video. So, what happened this week? Well, on Tuesday, Sony PlayStation announced they were having a State of Play presentation. And historically, Digimon's not really been at these things. They've not been at Nintendo Directs, they've not been at State of Plays, they've not been at Xbox presentations, but I have maintained for a while they really should have been. On Wednesday morning, or afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're in, GameStop decided to post, accidentally, a listing for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X of a game called Digimon Story Time Stranger. This was pulled later that afternoon, but the sleuths, the cyber sleuths in the Digimon community noticed that Bandai Namco had actually filed for something called Time Stranger back in January of this year. It seemed nearly certain that given all of this happening, and it being GameStop that put the listing up, that State of Play was going to have the new Digimon Story game we've been waiting for. And it did. The trailer was at the State of Play, it was incredible. The stream that I did was completely derailed because we kind of expected it, but weren't fully expecting it. And yeah, it's a real game. It's confirmed for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Steam, though I do think a Switch 2 version may be coming. As far as we know, this is not going to be on PS4 or Switch 1, I think just because it is a game that requires a little bit more graphic fidelity, hopefully. This may mean the game is running at 60 FPS or even 120 FPS, which would be ideal, and the price tag does seem to be $70 US. This, of course, will vary depending on your territory. And if you don't want to hear all my breakdown, you can wishlist or pre-order the game right now, and there are indeed physical pre-orders via things like GameStop and Amazon, so the game is going to come physically. But as is time-honored tradition, and because it is the biggest Digimon news we've had in quite some time, I want to break down everything we know about this game, at least everything that I can get my hands on, both for existing Digimon fans who know about Digimon Story and the Digimon Story games, and for people that maybe just have no idea what's going on and want to know what is happening in the Digimon field. First of all, what is Digimon Story? It's kind of different to Digimon World, where the Digimon World games focus on the more virtual pet original Digimon toy style raising care and battling mechanics. Digimon Story games are more outright JRPGs. I think the two that most people are familiar with are Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, and while this is not the third in those games, it is a successor in a long series of Digimon Story games. It's set in both the human world and the digital world of Iliad, which we've never actually visited properly in Digimon media. It was kind of there in Digimon Crusader / Heroes, but we've not really deeply dived into Iliad. We don't really have any visual depictions of it. If you want to really go into the weeds on what we've had to go through as Digimon fans for the last 7 years or so, I did do a video covering what we knew so far about the game. At the time, it was like a PS4 title, but the two things you really need to know is that initially it was produced by a man called Kazemasu Habu, who also produced a bunch of other amazing Digimon games that I love, like the Cyber Sleuth series and Digimon Survive, and he did intimate very early on that the game would be intrinsically tied to the Olympos 12. The Olympos 12 are a group in Digimon similar to the Royal Knights. In fact, according to the lore, it is said that the Royal Knights and the Olympos 12 eventually will engage in a war, and we'll get to the trailer breakdown in just a second, but Omnimon is in the trailer, and Omnimon is a member of the Royal Knights, so maybe the Royal Knights versus the Olympos 12 is going to be the big theme of this game. Anyway, the members of the Olympos 12 are Apollomon, Bacchusmon, Ceresmon, Dianamon, Junomon, Jupitermon, Marsmon, Mercurymon, Minervamon, Neptunemon, Venusmon, and Volcanusmon. There are also some associated Digimon like Plutomon, Titamon, and of course Grace Novamon, which is the DNA evolution of Apollomon and Dianamon. And it's fairly likely that all these Digimon will show up in the game. The Olympos 12 also manage the digital world Iliad, and we have confirmation from Bandai Namco sources that the digital world in this new Digimon Story Time Stranger is indeed the digital world of Iliad. While the normal digital world is ruled by Yggdrasil, Iliad is ruled by Homeros. And this is where you can see a lot of the Greek myth basis tying in. Of course, Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. And while the Olympos 12 all have the names of the Roman equivalents, they are more so based on the Greek equivalent gods. But let's dive into this trailer. We open on, as the PlayStation blog describes, city-wide destruction and strange phenomena. We then see a Locomon heading towards what honestly looks like it might be Olympus, Mount Olympus. Then this strange formation of gears and metal with an interesting shape at its core, which some suspect may be the depiction of Homeros itself, the ruler of the Iliad server. We get this wonderful look at a forest, and then the real-life Japanese setting that our main characters are from. In a little bit, I will tell you where those locations are, thanks to my friend Ashley from Watch Mojo. We then get this incredible moving down of some kind of chamber towards these glowing dials, which may be where the time travel aspect of the title Time Stranger comes into effect. We see a destroyed part of the city, a woman NPC, possible companion, and the back of the female version of the main character. Then we cut to the underground with a Digimon that appears to be Metal Greymon breaking through. Then it cuts to Titamon breaking through what seems to be the barriers of the worlds. We have these incredibly creepy looking shadow creatures which remind me of the Kenzoku from Digimon Survive, or indeed the human eater forms. And then this girl with her back to what appears to be a brand new Digimon or digital life form we haven't seen before. Then the Digi-Egg hatches and we see Ageomon. Ageomon is actually the champion stage of Jupitermon, the leader of the Olympos 12. Ageomon featured prominently in Digimon Crusader / Digimon Heroes and digivolves into Aegiacusmon, which has many forms. I'll talk about them a little bit more later when we talk about some screenshots, but I do want to touch on the fact that Aegiacusmon wholly in particular seems to have very similar motifs to both the location where Locomon is headed at the start and those light dials, plus something later in the trailer. We see a bunch of Kawagamon and Okuamon descending and then Titamon jumping into attack. Then we see the male version of the protagonist character, giving us a good look at the fact that they're a gogglehead and they have what some people are describing as like a train conductor outfit. And this is where things get really crazy because the protagonist has a pew-pew. We get some glitchy shots indicating that of course the cutscenes will change depending on whether you choose the male presenting main character or the female presenting main character. It is also entirely possible that there is some kind of timeline shenanigans going on here. I personally think it's just kind of demonstrating that the cutscene will change depending on the gender presentation you pick, but it could be the case, given the fact that the key art shows both of them off, that both these characters will be involved in the story of the game. Kind of like how if you pick Ethan in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Lyra shows up in the story and vice versa. However, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth also showed both options for protagonist on the art. But either way, they have this kind of gun. Some people are saying this is related to Soul Hackers. I have not played Soul Hackers, but I don't think this is going to be as simple as just a character has a gun. You can very clearly see this kind of like energy Iron Man UI type stuff going on. So while I think it might cause damage, I think it could also be like a reader or a scanner. There is a very high chance this is the kind of Digivice of this game too. And yeah, if you look at any of the images of the guns from Soul Hacker, it's a very similar setup. There is, however, some suspicion in my mind that either the gun isn't the Digivice or the gun can transform, because if we look at the official art, which depicts the main two characters, or I guess the two versions of the main character, they have flip phones, it appears, which could also be the Digivices. We have a big history in Digimon of Digivices and V-Pets being based around mobile phones. It's also worth noting, a little bit blink and you'll miss it, but on the pants of these characters is the word Adamus, and Adamus in Greek mythology was a participant in the Trojan War. It could be that Adamus is an organization, perhaps a group of humans who are coordinating to sort out the threat from Digimon, and could be a little hint at the idea that that Royal Knights Olympos 12 war is indeed happening. It's also funny that Adamus was a participant in the Trojan War. I wonder if we might see the ancient Digimon from Digimon Frontier, specifically ancient Troyamon. Wishful thinking, perhaps. Then we see something which has to be a confirmation. I believe they would not include it in the first trailer if it wasn't a thing. A long requested feature of Digimon games, rideable Digimon mounts. This is actually something in things like Digimon Masters, this sort of semi-official MMO, but we've not had it in a Digimon story game to this date, and of course starting with Garurumon makes it so iconic, and we see Garurumon running through some kind of net ocean Deep Savers looking environment. Then we see what appears to be a very small champion Waymon, again in what looks like to be maybe a deeper part of the same area Garurumon was in, where we see Sealamon, Anamalokarimon, aka Scorpiomon, I believe Divamon, of course Vikemon, Seadramon, and probably a couple of others, but unfortunately the resolution even at 1080p does not enable for a really good look look here. Then we've got Blimpmon, who I am so glad to be seeing in 3D in this game. I think Blimpmon may be rideable, or at least like a kind of cutscene transportation Digimon, and a fantastic look at Birdramon. A couple of times in Digimon games, like in Digimon World Data Squad, they have tried to do a really cool fire effect with Digimon, but it's never quite worked out. However, I truly think this Birdramon absolutely pays off. It looks phenomenal, one of the best that Birdramon has ever looked. This I think could be a rideable segment, but I think is also likely a cutscene because it does seem to be from very like specific camera angles and animation, and the female MC is hanging off the back as some kind of energy blast forms, and well, just looking from this golden dumbbell, we can confirm that the giant creature behind her is Jupitermon Wrath Mode. This is the wrathful, potentially evil version of Jupitermon, so we know he's going to be involved in this story, which of course makes a lot more sense given the fact we know Ageomon is also a big part of this story, like I called a year ago, but it was a pretty observable thing to call then, and I'm not saying this was for me, but it is kind of crazy that of all the Digimon they chose to really show off, they showed off Anbemon and Waspmon, Digimon that I am on record as being huge fans of and championing for. I don't think Bandai Namco did that for me, but it was so nice to see. And of course, Goblimon is here confirmed too. And we see a very basic battle setup with just one companion partner and the female main character. I think this may be an early battle, given that there's only one party member, Agumon, versus a more simple rookie opponent in Goblimon. We then get to see Agumon's entire anime adventure style evolution line, Greymon to Metal Greymon to War Greymon, attacking, but then we cut to Omnimon in what is very clearly not a battle in my opinion. It's definitely a cutscene, with Omnimon looking very intimidating and pulling out his sword. So I think similarly to Cyber Sleuth, Omnimon is going to be a character in this game, not just an obtainable Digimon. And then we cut to the logo, Digimon Story Time Stranger, and that's all she wrote. But that's not all we got to talk about. First of all, yes, it confirmed that the game releases in 2025, and this was initially at the PlayStation State of Play, so it says PS5, but don't worry, as I said in the intro, it's not a PlayStation 5 exclusive, it's also coming out on Xbox Series X and S and Steam, and I think Switch 2 in the future. We're going to dive into things like PlayStation Blog and Steam and stuff in a little minute, but I do want to kind of touch on how this game is going to play out from what we know already and what we know about the series. It's almost certainly going to be a turn-based battle style, although there may be some action RPG elements. As the Bandai Namco Entertainment website intimates, it is single player, it's a monster taming RPG, and it's developed by Media Vision, who also made the Cyber Sleuth games. On this website, it's really cool. We've got the screenshot, we can see Zudomon, Garurumon, Greymon, Angelmon, Motimon, as well as Digitamamon, Tanemon, Toy Agumon, Big Mamemon, a thing that looks like a Gurumon but it's just a sign. We believe Lalamon, and there may even be a Vegemon tucked in the background here. This is clearly a world filled with life. You are going to be able to evolve Digimon. However, it's not going to be like the Digimon World games where you have to meet requirements in real time. Instead, it's going to be requirements like Cyber Sleuth, most likely, where you get different stats or different conditions that will enable your Digimon to digivolve. Going over to the PlayStation blog, we get some really interesting stuff. What could be the cause of this citywide destruction and strange phenomena? Digimon Story Time Stranger is a JRPG where players will travel between the human world and the fantastic realms of the digital world. Two worlds interlinked in mysterious ways. In this epic story, collect and train Digimon to stop the collapse of the world and change fate itself. This again hints at that time travel element, and I do think Ageomon being heavily involved. Love the PlayStation blog here acknowledges that Digimon have taken many forms, monster raising games, RPGs, and visual novels, and it being about 10 years since Cyber Sleuth. For fans of previous Digimon story games, this entry features a digital world that's never been seen in previous titles, an improved battle system, and fan-favorite characters like Agumon and Omnimon, as well as other Digimon in brand new roles. For fans of JRPGs, the game has an immersive story propelled by unique humans and Digimon characters, as well as a deep strategic growth system for the Digimon you collect. Players that like to optimize their parties and character stats will have plenty of party combos to experiment with. Then there's a segment that's really interesting to me, bonds that transcend. Though many iterations of Digimon have existed, the through line for it all has always been the bond between humans and Digimon. This entry in the Digimon story shows how that deep bond between characters can transcend worlds and time itself. We can't reveal too much now, but stay tuned to see how those bonds play out in both the story and in the gameplay, where past and future, Digimon and humanity, and worlds collide. This does seem to hint at an actual time travel element, not just a general time theme, but also that the evolution setup may be a blending of the Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth style evolution where you have to get certain stats, and perhaps the bond and morality based evolution of Digimon Survive. The initial producer of this game, Habu, sadly stepped away from Digimon games in April of last year. However, he was very much the figurehead and person that championed for this game, and he likes to do things iteratively. He always learns from games he's made before. He'll always add one thing from a previous game into the next or do something different with it. And I do think the element from Digimon Survive a lot of people liked was the fact that the Digimon would digivolve based on the story as well as other factors. So I can at least see the starter Digimon, which you can see in the key art, is Patamon, Gomamon, and Demidevimon, having maybe a little bit more intrinsically story-related and bond-related evolutions going on. We also get confirmation, of course, that we are going between the human world and the digital world, and that while Cybersleuth originally was an artificial cyberspace, they wanted to kind of fix that as it was a big criticism and go to the actual digital world this time. A great note that I love to see is that Digimon can be seen running their own shops, homes, and living their own full Digi lives. Unique Digimon will also give you quests which can be completed in fantastical new environments with their own interactive elements. And you can see that in the trailer. Digital worlds and human worlds are thriving with life. There is so much going on, even in these short little vignettes. Digimon are equal teammates to players, so you must build up your bond with them to get stronger. Again, iterating this idea of the bond being important, not just random stats. After encountering Digimon in battle, you can collect them, raise them through evolution, devolution, and customization. This all is similar to Cybersleuth to create your own unique teammate. Digimon aren't limited to evolving in one way, so enjoy experimenting to see how one Digimon can become many different things. Your growth and the strength of your bond with your Digimon will also affect their growth and battle ability. So yes, this is of course talking about the branching evolutions that Digimon have. This is nothing new to Digimon fans. You also see that from old favorites to newcomers making their game debut, perhaps you'll find that Digimon with whom you'll create your own bond. So yeah, we're going to have Digimon that were already in Digimon games like Story and Cybersleuth, but this also intimates that there are going to be Digimon that have never been in the games before. Perhaps things like the X Antibody, Cross Wars Digimon, or maybe just some more recent comers. There's lots of potential here. Moving over to the Steam page, we do have some little things that are pretty interesting. The two things that I'm most interested in though, of course, are that we have an RPG, JRPG, party-based RPG, and collectathon tag. That's great to hear. Obviously confirming a party-based RPG means that we will have a party of Digimon. And you can see that in this screenshot, which has Greymon, Angelwomon, and Garuramon. Of course, they're going to have that adventure bait fighting Waspmon and Fanbimon. But right on the left here, you can see, that's right, Aegiomon is in the party, or at least acting alongside the party. And this again seems like a very early part of the game, so maybe right from the start, Aegiomon is our companion, which again, I kinda called. Maybe Aegiomon assisting us in battle like Arata and Nokia did in Cybersleuth, but then at different parts of the story, it will digivolve into Aegiacusmon Red, Blue, Black, Holy, etc., and help us in various battles. Maybe even Aegiomon was sent back in time to stop itself from becoming Jupitermon Wrath Mode. A big thing that a lot of people have been looking for, also by the way, make sure you add this to your wish list, is that the game will include full English audio, in addition to the full Japanese audio. So yes, as is intimated by the trailer having English voice acting, the entire game is fully voice acted in English. We did not have this for Digimon Survive, we did not have this for Cybersleuth and Hacker's Memory. The most recent example we have of this is World Next Order. And of course we also have a full translation beside the audio, sadly, for a lot of other territories. When we get down to the bottom here, the mature content description does give us some insight into the game that perhaps might color our opinion, but I'm actually pretty excited. Used cigarette butts can be seen on the ground on a few game maps, cigarette packs can be seen on shelves behind select convenience store clerks, but can never be purchased by the player. So of course this is Japan, there is a big smoking culture in Japan. Alcohol is frequently referenced and seen in the background of some map locations. A Digimon is referred to an alcoholic who constantly drinks from a wine barrel, that would be Bacchusmon, the god of wine. There is one instance where a character commits unalive, oh my god. Some female Digimon can be seen in revealing outfits that expose a lot of their breasts, and minor profanities such as crud, damn, hell, pissed, and screw can be heard throughout the whole game. Pretty standard stuff for a JRPG, apart from maybe the unaliving yourself in Minecraft bit, but hey ho. Speaking of locations, my friend Ashley, Ashj Bo from Watch Mojo did a good breakdown of the locations we saw in the trailer. We've got the Akihabara Radio Kaikan, the Shinjuku Station East Exit, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building, which is where the Kawagamon and Okuamon were falling down from, and Shinjuku Station again. Now we don't know what the roster of this game is going to be like as far as Digimon go. In the complete edition of Cybersleuth, so that's Cybersleuth and Hacker's Memory, there were 341 obtainable Digimon, and I would expect a similar number, but maybe up to 500. Yes, there are 1400 plus Digimon, but I just don't think it's tenable. And Digimon has never really been a catch-em-all franchise anyway, with a lot of Digimon being very similar variants or like manga exclusives that we've never really seen since. Of course, I'd like to see every Digimon ever in a game, but I've got to be realistic, and I think I'd rather the game be quality than cram in every single possible Digimon. I would honestly actually be okay with them doing DLC for this game, maybe with popularity polls to add Digimon that weren't in the base game. And looking at this key art, which is likely going to be the box art as well, I just think these guys look very Phantom Thiefy, for lack of a better word, or just kind of wicked troublemakers. This doesn't come across in the gameplay, but it is something to note. I'm really glad that this game is finally coming out. There's a lot of things that I've called over the years and I kept the faith, and finally the game is actually happening. It's very sad that Habu left Digimon Games, and I guess someone else kind of saw this through to the end, but I'm still really excited for this game to come out. The official Bandai Namco Entertainment website, of course, puts Ageomon front and center, which makes sense because he is going to be important to this story. And I think they are making a big deal of this Locomon heading towards what's probably Mount Olympus as being a core part of the story, something that is going to be a big mystery that is revealed. Obviously, Titamon makes a big appearance in the trailer. That's because Titamon is the Titans of mythology and is going to cause some problems for the Greek gods, the Olympos 12. So I wouldn't be surprised if Plutomon shows up here too. Coronamon and Lunamon were the mascot Digimon for Digimon Story, Sunburst and Moonlight, aka Digimon World, Dawn and Dusk in English language. And they never got to become Grace Novamon in that game, but they are members of the Olympos 12, becoming Apollomon and Dianamon, so I think it's very certain we're going to see Grace Novamon in this game, and I think it'd be very cool to see Grace Novamon tee up against Titamon, maybe Plutomon, and even Jupitermon Wrath mode. And I also think there's a good chance we see Hysteric mode of Junomon here too. There's probably some little bits and pieces I've missed here, so please do let me know anything else in the comments down below that you think is worth touching upon. This is so exciting, and I am so happy that we finally have all of this news for Digimon Story Time Stranger. We know it's coming out, and the release date is this year. I'm thinking either summer, like July, similar to Digimon Survive, or September. This is speculation, but given that Digimon Con is in March 19th or 20th, depending on your time zone, that feels like a pretty obvious place to talk about the release date and maybe even give us some more stuff on the game. This also conveniently is after Pokemon Day, where Pokemon will announce when Pokemon Legends ZA comes out. And while Digimon and Pokemon are not in competition, especially because this game currently is not coming out on Nintendo consoles, it certainly doesn't hurt that they're going to get to know what Pokemon's release date schedule is for this year and next year before they give us the Time Stranger release window. But I would expect it between July and October of this year, but it could be sooner. This has been incredible for me. I really thought it was going to be this year. I even talked about it being the year of the snake, and Habu has a whole thing with snakes and Hubmon. But I'm glad to have been vindicated in that regard, and just happy. Don't have to be like proving that I was right all along or whatever, but I'm just happy that I kept the faith, and a lot of you did too. And when people said, oh, it's cancelled, it's never going to happen, we held the faith here on this channel and we were rewarded. And Bandai Namco was in my chat on Wednesday night. Anything else you want to let me know about Digimon Story Time Stranger, put it in the comments down below. Make sure you go follow me on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Instagram. It's all in the description down below. And if you want to consider becoming a patron and supporting free independent Digimon videos, you can do that over on patreon.com/Karn EX, like my sovereigns, ZDK14 and Ram McGrayfire, Digidestin and everyone else. Or you can become a channel member here on YouTube, or even maybe just drop a little super chat or a subscribe. It means the absolute world. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.